Live NFL trivia every Tuesday night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come show off your football knowledge and have a chance to win cash prizes. Check the link in the description to find out more. And now, on with our feature presentation. When you break it down, there are two ways that a team can get into the playoffs. The first one is pretty obvious. You win your games. You control exactly what is in front of you, and you win enough games where you mathematically qualify for the postseason, no matter what anyone else does. The second one is more stressful, more out of your control, but still counts all the same. You hope that everyone else in the running loses their games. This is where you get something like the 2006 Chiefs, where they needed the Titans, Bengals, Jaguars, and Broncos to lose in front of them, and they all did. This is where you get something like the 2017 Bills, where they needed the Ravens to lose, and they did. This is where you get something like the 1989 Steelers, where they needed the Bengals to lose on Christmas Day, and they did. But in fairness to the 06 Chiefs and the 17 Bills and the 89 Steelers, all three of those teams at least won their final game of the season. The 06 Chiefs had to beat the Jaguars to even have a shot at making it. The 17 Bills had to beat the Dolphins on the final week of the season, and the 89 Steelers had to beat the Buccaneers on the last week of the year. I'm going to do a future video about something that happened during that game sometime soon. All three of those teams at least earned their way into the postseason by winning and then hoping for the best after that. In the history of the NFL, though, there might not be anything like the 1984 season. Because in 1984, the New York Giants made the postseason in one of the most asinine and craziest ways possible. They had two options to making it: win or lose and pray that everyone else in front of them somehow lost. And what happened over the course of that weekend, especially in the manner in which it played out, might be the craziest playoff scenario of all time. This is the story of the 1984 Giants, and the greatest backdoor into the postseason ever. The Giants had not been good in recent years. After the 1963 season where they lost 14-10 to the Chicago Bears in the NFL Championship, things quickly went into a tailspin over the next 2 decades where nothing went right. From 1964 to 83, the Giants made the postseason just once. They finished with a losing record in 10 of the past 11 years. New York was consistently near the cellar of the division and the league. When Bill Parcells took over in 1983, things weren't looking good. The team went 3-12-1 that year, and won just one of their last 12 games. One of those games was a disastrous 20-all tie on Monday Night Football against the St. Louis Cardinals. In a game so bad that Bill Parcells said afterward, if somebody had to win that game, we might still be out there. Outside of a few key pieces on defense like Lawrence Taylor and Harry Carson, there really was not a whole lot to like about the Giants. That all changed in 1984, because the following year, they went on a remarkable turnaround. The team started off 2-0 for the first time since 1968. At the midway point of the season, while they were sitting at 4-4, they were right in the thick of things in the playoff hunt. Then came an absolutely remarkable stretch. A shocking 37-13 blowout against two-time defending NFC champion Washington to move to 5-4. A 19-7 victory against the Dallas Cowboys to win at Texas Stadium for the first time since 1974. A victory against the St. Louis Cardinals where they forced 6 turnovers. An absolutely remarkable victory against the Kansas City Chiefs where they trailed 27-14 with 7.5 minutes left before Phil Simms threw 2 touchdown passes to win it 28-27. And after a convincing win against their in-stadium rival New York Jets, the Giants were 9-5. With 2 games to go, the Giants were right in the thick of things. They were tied with Washington and Dallas for the best record in the NFC East. They had a hold on one of the wildcard spots. With a win in Week 15 against the St. Louis Cardinals, they could knock the Cards out of postseason contention entirely and come awfully close to locking up a spot, or even fight for the division title. Remember, the last time these teams met, the Cards turned the ball over 6 times. They'd lost 3 of their last 5 games, scored 17 or less in 4 of their last 5, and had 16 turnovers in their last 5. The Giants are going to pull off the sweep here, right? Well, not quite. Despite the game being tied at 21 apiece at the end of the 3rd quarter, the Cards wound up winning at 31-21. The loss eliminated the Giants from winning the NFC East, which was the bad news. The good news was that for the most part, the Giants controlled their own destiny making it to the postseason. There was some weird tiebreaker scenario involving the Rams that winds up being completely irrelevant when all's said and done, and just makes things more confusing than they have to be. So we're just going to gloss over that for simplicity's sake. If the Giants beat the Saints in a final week of the season, the Giants are in the postseason for just the 2nd time in 20 years. If the Giants cannot beat the Saints, then they better start praying. because for them to make the postseason, the Cardinals have to lose to Washington, and the Cowboys have to lose to Miami. With all three of those teams at 9-6, the Giants own the three-way tiebreaker since they went 3-1. Oh, and to make things even more stressful, you know how nowadays if a scenario like this was playing out, how all three of those games would be taking place at the same time? Yeah, it didn't work like that back in 1984. The Giants played on Saturday, the Cardinals played on Sunday, and the Cowboys played on Monday. Of course, practically all of the stress could be avoided if the Giants just beat the Saints on Saturday. As you can probably tell, that's not what's about to happen. I want to emphasize just how much of a non-story this game should be. The Saints are 6-9. They have nothing to play for. They have lost 3 straight games and have turned the ball over 9 times in their last 2 games. The Giants were 10-point favorites and were playing at home. The last time the Saints won on the road against the Giants was before the merger in 1969, and the Giants had won 5 out of 6 home games against the Saints' lifetime. Should be an easy celebratory win, right? Well, not quite. This game was marred in the first half by giant mistakes. Trailing 7-3 in the first half, they got great field position following an interception by Byron Williams, but they're able to get nothing out of it after a holding penalty wipes out a 48-yard field goal and forces the Giants to punt instead. Then on the ensuing drive, the Giants are able to get it down to the 3-yard line in a goal-to-go situation. The Giants walk away empty-handed after getting stuffed on 4th down, and after the referee somehow missed what seemed like a pretty blatant neutral zone infraction. On the first drive of the second half, the mistakes continued. The Giants get into the red zone, but the offensive line could not protect Phil Simms, as by the end of the first drive, he had already been sacked 6 times. Ali Sheikh lined up for the field goal to cut the deficit to 1, and it misses so far left that it's closer to New York than it is to New Jersey. The next drive ends after Phil Simms gets strip sacked on 3rd down. With the Saints now up 10-3 in the 4th, a blown call ends the next drive, as Earnest Gray seems to be in bounds when he makes this catch, but the referees rule him out of bounds. Remember that back in 1984, there was no instant replay, although it would become a thing 2 years later in 1986. You can check out a video I made about that in the upper right corner. And on their last drive of the game, with about 3 minutes to go, the pass by Phil Simms gets deflected at the line and picked off. The Saints pull off an absolutely stunning 10-3 victory. Nothing was working for the Giants on offense. Every time they got close, they blew it. Joe Morris was one of the best running backs in football as of late. He was averaging 5.3 yards per carry over his last 3 and went for over 100 against the Cardinals the week before. In this game, he had 14 carries for 29 yards. And this was against the Saints defense allowing over 163 rushing yards in their previous 6 games. Simms threw 2 interceptions, got sacked 7 times, and had a 28.8 passer rating, which is worse than if he did nothing but spike the ball into the ground on every single play. Yes, the Giants caught a few bad breaks during this game, but they shot themselves in the foot on multiple occasions. And after that lethargic performance, it seemed as though their season was dead. Linebacker Harry Carson said as much, saying, "Right now, the way I look at it, our season is over. I don't know what's going to happen with the other games. If it happens, it happens. I'm not holding my breath." Now the Giants had to wait until Sunday to figure out whether they'd still be alive. And if that somehow happened, they'd have to wait until Monday to see if their dream would become a reality. Time for the back door to begin.
That scene is taking place up in McConkey, New Jersey. Casey Merrill, as the Giants, many of the members of the Giants watching this game and watching this broadcast. They are, of course, still alive and have playoff hopes.
Of course, they're all rooting for the Redskins. If the Cardinals win, that will eliminate the Giants today.
When the St. Louis Cardinals and Washington met the next day at RFK Stadium on December 16th, it became one of the biggest games in Cards history since the team moved to St. Louis back in 1960. Washington was at least guaranteed a wildcard spot, but for St. Louis, this was the ultimate winner-go-home game. If the Cards won, then they'd be NFC East champions and would host a playoff game for the first time ever at Busch Stadium. If the Cards lost, then they'd be out, and the Giants would still be alive in the postseason hunt, despite losing their last 2 games. The Giants looked like they had nothing to worry about at first. Washington led 23-7 at the half, and was in complete command of the game up by 3 possessions after holding the Cards to just 9 rushing yards. But you can never count out the Cards. They had the 4th highest scoring offense in football, and could strike at any moment. On November 25th, they had a come-from-behind 4th quarter win against the Eagles. On September 16th, the Cards trailed 33-24 in the 4th quarter against the Colts, but won at 34-33. And the last time these teams played on October 23rd, the Cards were down 24-17 in the fourth quarter before winning it 26-24, with one of those scores being an 83-yard touchdown pass from Neil Lomax to Roy Green. You could never count out St. Louis. While they weren't the cardiac Cards of the 70s, they were a worthy successor. And just like that, the Cards came storming back. On the opening drive of the half, Neil O'Donoghue hits a 30-yard field goal to make it a 23-10 game. On the next drive, Roy Green, being the home run hitter that he is, finally got past the Washington secondary and scored a 75-yard touchdown to make it a 23-17 ball game. 7 minutes into the third quarter, and the Cards have already cut it to a one-possession game. The teams trade field goals afterward, and it's now 26-20. With 8 minutes left, the Cards have the ball on their own 5-yard line. They have to go 95 yards, but sure enough, Roy Green does it again and scores his second touchdown of the half. For the first time all game, the Cards have the lead. Things are looking absolutely dire for the Giants. And with Washington facing 3rd and 10 in their own territory, if the Cards get a stop here, Washington might not touch the ball again. Instead, Joe Theismann shows why he was a former MVP, as he avoids the sack and takes off running. It's a first down for Washington to keep the drive alive. A few pass plays later, and with under 2 minutes left, Mark Mosley, the former MVP kicker, is lining up for the go-ahead 37-yard field goal, and Mosley drills it. Washington now leads 29-27 in what might be the best game of the year. But again, the Cards still have a shot. There's 90 seconds left and they just need a field goal to win. They've scored on every drive this half. Neil Lomax already has over 400 yards passing. This is definitely doable. Lomax hits Danny Pittman to get near midfield. Another pass to Otis Anderson gets the Cards inside Washington territory. Now it's 3rd down. The game's on the line. What's about to happen over these next 20 seconds are nothing short of incredible or agonizing, depending on what side you're on.
If the Cardinals had to try the field goal from here, it would be from 55 yards out. They'd certainly like to have O'Donoghue a little bit closer. It's to Pittman. They're going to have to hurry. Rich Ballot dragged him down. 13 seconds on the clock. They're going to have to hurry. 8 seconds.
They have too many men on the field.
6 seconds. They got him off. He got it off. It's no good.
Game over. Washington wins it. Okay, one part down for the Giants. Part 2 wouldn't take place until Monday night, so Giants players and fans had another day to stress out about everything. And the stakes for Part 2 could not be any higher. If Miami wins, they get home field throughout the postseason, and Dallas gets eliminated, with the Giants getting in. If Miami loses, then the Broncos get home field throughout the postseason, and the Cowboys get in, with New York's season ending. There have been somewhere in the ballpark of 800 games ever to take place on Monday Night Football. You can make the argument that what's about to happen over these next 3 hours is the best game ever. Just like the last game, things are looking amazing for the Giants at the start. After 2 touchdown passes by Dan Marino, the Dolphins have a 14-0 lead midway through the third quarter. As things stand, New York is going to be playing postseason football. The Cowboys are driving and have a 3rd and 8 situation, and decide that this is the time to try a trick play. It does not work, as Ron Springs loses his footing on the brutal Orange Bowl field. Somewhat far for a field goal, but too close for a punt, Tom Landry decides to leave his offense out on the field and go for it, with the third quarter winding down. And on 4th and 8, pass interference is called, while Blackwood hooks Duriel Harris. Harris was a Dolphin for 8 years, and would play for the Dolphins again the following year in 1985. But in this instance, he hurt them big time, because on the ensuing play, Timmy Newsome punches it in from a yard out to cut it to a 14-7 game. Just like that, Dallas is right back in it. Other than the one drive, Dallas has done next to nothing this entire game on offense. That's about to change, because midway through the fourth quarter, Dan Marino throws a costly interception on 3rd down. Michael Downs makes the play and is able to run it back into Miami territory to give the Cowboys some great field position. A few plays later, Newsome scores his 2nd touchdown of the game, and we are all tied up. New York's postseason hopes are now looking way less likely. What's about to happen over these next few minutes borders on the craziest finish in Monday Night Football history. especially considering the circumstances. A key third down conversion by Marino keeps the drive alive. They eventually get into Dallas territory, and with 3.5 minutes left, Mark Clayton scores on a 39-yard touchdown to give Miami the lead. Ron Fellows tries to jump in front of that pass and go for the pick six, but mistimed it, and from there, Clayton was off to the races. Miami now leads 21-14 with a 2-minute warning, and on the first play following the 2-minute warning, Immaculate Reception 2.0 happens. Don McNeil drops the pick, it goes off his fingertips, and lands right to Tony Hill for a 66-yard score, tied up at 21 apiece. Dan Marino's got a shot to answer with 1 minute left and avoid overtime, and he does just that. Mark Clayton scores for the second time in 3 minutes. He goes 63 yards. Dolphins lead 28-21. 3 touchdowns in a 3-minute stretch on the final day of the regular season to determine who goes to the postseason. Doesn't get any crazier than that. And after Danny White throws a pick on the last chance for the Cowboys, that does it. Ball game. For the first time since 1974, the Dallas Cowboys are out of the playoffs. And for just the second time since 1964, the New York Giants are in. The Cardinals lost at the wire. The Cowboys lost at the wire. The Giants have pulled off the most successful, stressful, and amazing backdoor in NFL history. What's amazing about something like this is that it will never happen again. With the way the scheduling format works, where every game that matters takes place at the exact same time, we are never seeing a situation like this where all 3 teams play on 3 different days. This moment was truly a relic in history. And with that scheduling format, you got a lot of duds. You get Monday night games between 2 irrelevant teams. You get Sunday night football games where teams are resting their starters. If you want to learn more about why the scheduling format changed for that final week of the season, click the video in the upper right corner. But sometimes, you get incredible moments like this. Remember when the Chiefs somehow got into the postseason in 2006? The equivalent of something like this happening today is to imagine if in that year, the Chiefs played the Jaguars on Saturday, then the Patriots and Titans played on Sunday afternoon, the Bengals and Steelers played on Sunday Night Football, and the Broncos and 49ers played on Monday Night Football. It's chaotic. It's a mess. But it produces some incredible, unbelievable drama. And in 1984, that's exactly what happened. Sometimes, it's better to be lucky than it is to be good. The New York Giants would have their time to be good, as 2 years later, they won their first Super Bowl in franchise history. But in 1984, it was their time to be lucky. Even though they lost, because the Cowboys and Cardinals did as well in dramatic fashion, the Giants pulled off the greatest backdoor in NFL history. Be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at JaredGator9 and subscribe to 60-Second NFL History on YouTube. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping on the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. See how you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.